Imagine a summer where the sun barely shines. The days are cold and the nights are colder. Instead of the joyous sounds of birdsong, there is an eerie silence. The trees, stripped of their lush greenery, stand bare against a perpetually gray sky. This was the stark reality that gripped the world in 1816, a year that went down in history as the year without a summer. The world was caught completely unaware, the usual rhythm of the seasons disrupted. People looked to the skies, their faces etched with confusion and fear. The warmth of the sun, usually so reliable, had vanished, replaced by an unsettling chill. The sky, usually a brilliant blue, was now a canvas of grays, heavy with unending clouds. Little did they know that a monstrous volcanic eruption on the other side of the world was the culprit behind this dramatic and unsettling shift in their reality. Mount Tambora, once a silent giant slumbering in the Indonesian archipelago, roared to life in April 1815. This eruption was not just a local event, it was a global catastrophe that would be remembered for centuries. The sheer magnitude of the eruption was unprecedented, and its effects were felt far and wide. The earth trembled as the volcano erupted with cataclysmic force, ejecting a massive column of ash, rock and gas high into the atmosphere. The sky darkened as the ash cloud spread, blocking out the sun and plunging the region into an eerie twilight. The force of the eruption was so immense that it altered the landscape, creating a caldera where the mountain's peak once stood. The eruption was one of the most powerful ever recorded, dwarfing even the infamous eruption of Vesuvius that destroyed Pompeii. While Vesuvius is often cited as one of history's most devastating volcanic events, Tambora's eruption was on a scale that was almost unimaginable. The energy released was equivalent to the explosion of several hundred megatons of TNT, making it one of the most explosive events in recorded history. The sound of the eruption was deafening, heard over 1,200 miles away. Reports from distant lands described the noise as cannon fire or the rumbling of distant thunder. The sheer volume of the sound was a testament to the power of the eruption, and it left an indelible mark on the collective memory of those who heard it. Pyroclastic flows, rivers of hot gas and volcanic debris, surged down the mountain slopes, incinerating everything in their path. These deadly flows moved at incredible speeds, leaving no time for escape. The intense heat and force of the pyroclastic flows obliterated entire villages, forests, and farmlands, leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. The immediate impact on the surrounding region was catastrophic. Thousands of lives were lost in an instant, and the survivors were left to contend with a landscape that had been irrevocably altered. The once fertile land was now covered in a thick layer of ash, making agriculture impossible and leading to widespread famine. The island of Sumbawa was devastated, its lush landscape transformed into a barren wasteland. The local population, already reeling from the immediate effects of the eruption, now faced the long-term consequences of a drastically changed environment. The loss of crops and livestock led to severe food shortages, and the island's economy was crippled. But the eruption's impact was not confined to the immediate vicinity. The massive amount of volcanic material ejected into the atmosphere had far-reaching effects on the global climate. The ash and gases released by the eruption spread across the globe, leading to a phenomenon known as the year without a summer. Millions of tons of volcanic ash and sulfur dioxide were injected into the stratosphere, where they began a slow journey around the globe. These particles reflected sunlight away from the Earth, causing temperatures to drop and leading to widespread crop failures and food shortages. The climatic effects of the eruption were felt for years, with 1816 being particularly harsh. This massive volcanic cloud acted like a giant shroud, obscuring the sun's rays and disrupting the Earth's delicate climate system. The resulting drop in temperatures led to unseasonable weather patterns, including frosts in the summer and heavy rains that ruined crops. The eruption of Mount Tambora was a stark reminder of the power of nature and its ability to shape the course of human history. As the volcanic haze spread around the globe, it cast a chilling shadow over the northern hemisphere. The eruption of Mount Tambora in 1815 was one of the most powerful in recorded history, sending vast amounts of ash and sulfur dioxide into the stratosphere. This created a veil of particles that reflected sunlight away from the Earth, leading to a dramatic cooling effect. The phenomenon was so widespread that it became known as the year without a summer. The summer of 1816 arrived, but it was a summer in name only. Instead of the usual warmth and sunshine, people were greeted with unseasonably cold temperatures and persistent overcast skies. The weather patterns were so unusual that they baffled meteorologists of the time, who struggled to understand the sudden and severe climatic changes. Temperatures plummeted, and the skies remained stubbornly overcast. In many regions, the mercury rarely climbed above freezing, even in the height of summer. This unexpected chill had a profound impact on daily life, forcing people to adapt to conditions that were more reminiscent of winter than summer. The sun, usually a welcome source of warmth and light, was reduced to a pale, distant orb, often completely obscured by the volcanic haze. The lack of sunlight not only affected the temperature, but also had a psychological impact on the population, who found themselves living under a perpetual gray sky. Across Europe and North America, a relentless chill settled in. People were forced to wear winter clothing in the middle of summer, and the usual outdoor activities were curtailed. The cold and damp conditions also led to an increase in respiratory illnesses, adding to the general sense of misery. Snow fell in June, and frost ravaged crops in July and August. Farmers, who relied on predictable weather patterns for their livelihoods, were caught off guard. The unseasonable frost killed young plants and stunted the growth of those that managed to survive, leading to a disastrous harvest. The growing season, usually a time of abundance and bounty, was cut short. Fields that should have been lush and green were instead barren and lifeless. The lack of a successful harvest had a ripple effect, impacting not just the farmers but entire communities that depended on their produce. Crops failed and food shortages became widespread. The scarcity of food led to rising prices, making it difficult for many families to afford basic necessities. In some areas, people were forced to rely on government aid and charity to survive. The once familiar rhythm of the seasons had been thrown into disarray, leaving a trail of hardship and uncertainty in its wake. The disruption of the natural order affected not just agriculture but also the social and economic fabric of society. People struggled to make sense of the changes and to find ways to cope with the new reality. The impact on agriculture was devastating. Traditional farming methods were rendered ineffective by the unpredictable weather, and many farmers found themselves unable to produce enough food to sustain their families and communities. The economic consequences were severe, with many rural areas experiencing significant hardship. Farmers watched in despair as their crops withered and died. The sight of once fertile fields turning into wastelands was a heartbreaking reminder of the power of nature and the fragility of human endeavors. The loss of crops also meant a loss of income, pushing many families into poverty. The staple grains of wheat, oats and barley, upon which much of the world depended, failed to thrive in the cold and sunless conditions. These grains were essential for both human consumption and livestock feed, and their failure had far-reaching consequences. The lack of grain led to shortages of bread and other basic foods, exacerbating the hunger crisis. The price of food skyrocketed, leading to widespread hunger and hardship, particularly among the poorest segments of society. Markets that were once bustling with activity became places of desperation, as people struggled to find enough food to feed their families. The social unrest that followed was a testament to the profound impact of the volcanic eruption on human life. us of the strength that lies within us all.